couldn't depend on nobody but me. You had to realize that your life was in my hand, and when your life was in my hand, that's when I was able to bless your life. Can anybody in here attest to the fact that you got to a place where you couldn't help yourself, and God says that's where I needed you to be? When you couldn't help yourself, that's when I was able to help you, because we don't get it twisted. We'll get beside ourselves. As long as we have a little money in our pocket, we'll keep on pounding our way. God said, I'm going to take all your money, I'll take all your friends, I'll take everything from you, I'll strip you of everything, and I'll put you at the bottom, and then you'll have to do anything but look up to me. And you'll say, I will look to the hills from which cometh my help, because all of my help comes from the Lord. And God says, that's where I needed you all of the time, because you had nobody but me. Anybody in here, you've gotten to a place where you had nobody but God, and God says, now I need you to know, is there anything too hard for me? He'll take you to the bottom. But let me tell you about how God does it. If you go over to Genesis chapter 21, the Bible says, then the Lord took note of Sarah as he had said. Watch this. And the Lord did for Sarah as he had what? I can't hear you. As he had what? As he had what? If God promises something, you can rest assured God is going to do what he says that he's going to do. You ought to touch somebody and say, he's a promise keeper. Touch somebody and say, he's a promise keeper. But watch this. He's not finished. He says in verse 2, so Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age. Now, this is the same plan that Sarah said I had doubts about. He's too old. I'm too old. We can't do it. But God said, I promised it. And I know how I'm going to do it. And the Bible says that he does this, and it says, at the appointed time of which God had spoken to him. God is a good timekeeper. It's just that we struggle because God's timing just does not mess with our timing. See, we keep looking at the watch. God says, I'm doing it differently than that. He says, when you go over to Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 11, it is because of the faith of Sarah. Come on, somebody. It is because of the faith of Sarah that God was able to do what he did in her life. Now you got to know, in order to please God, it requires faith. What struggle will do for us, this is what I found. Struggle will make you trust God. Maybe I'm in here by myself. Maybe I'm the only one in here who has ever struggled with God. Maybe I'm the only one in here who can admit that I decided my plan was better than God's plan, and I was going to try my plan, but every time I tried my plan, it failed. That's what Abraham and Sarah did. They said, now we hear God, but I don't think he knows what he's talking about, so I want you to go get Hagar, and we're going to get Hagar, and we're going to make this plan work. That plan did not work. God says you can never try to fix my plan, because I know what my plan ought to be like. So now God says, when you get to a place where you figure out your plan is not going to work, and you get to a place where it's only me and you have to learn to trust me. God says that's when I can do the most in your life. And it's somebody in here right now, as I get ready to go to my seat, I want to tell somebody right now, nothing in your life is too hard for God. Yep. Nothing in your life is too. But brother pastor, you don't understand the situation I've been in so long. I stopped by to tell you, nothing is too hard for God. It's hard for you, but it's not too hard for God. How is it too hard for God when God says let there be and there was? How is it too hard for God when he can put a man to sleep, do surgery on him, take a rib from him, and make his help me? God says nothing is too hard for me. He says, you've got to understand, Abraham, I am the one who created you. I know all about you, so nothing is too. He said, when you go to bed tonight, tell Sarah I got your back, and all I need her to do is have faith. And all I'm saying, and I get ready to leave you, you've got to know how to to have faith in the middle miles of life when you can't see how God is going to work it out. You've got to just trust God's process and trust God's power and trust God's plan. I know some folk in here, you were at the breaking point of giving up, but the Lord sent you in this room this morning for me to deliver a word to you for your life. It's too soon for you to give up. You ought to